2018 Porsche Cayenne SUV Review. The good points of Porsche Cayenne SUV. Performance in spades. Fantastic steering. Modern, techy interior. Lots of space inside. The bad points of Porsche Cayenne SUV. Harsh, sporty ride. Feels big on the highway. Still not really a looker. Not cheap to perform. This will be the third-generation Porsche Cayenne SUV, the German brand's larger high-rise performance car. Porsche pompously calls the Cayenne the epitome in the sporty SUV, but folks have bought into that idea considering that the first car premiered in 2003, on the tune of approximately $770,000 offered around the world because the first generation's launch. The Cayenne has got to face off against a tremendous range of rivals, in the mechanically similar Audi Q7 to your stylish Maserati Levant, sharp-handling BMW X5 plus the Range Rover Sport. This third-generation version is longer minimizing than its predecessor while your body is around 35 kilograms lighter, which will help both performance and emissions. It still appears like a Cayenne, though, which some buyers can be used off by. It's a slam dunk a pretty car, but Porsche has refined the look and carried across some key styling on the Panamera Sport Saloon Cum 5-door coupe. Several punchy power variants. At launch, there was clearly a trio of Cayenne available. The standard Cayenne incorporates a 3.0-liter turbocharged V6 producing 340 horsepower. The Cayenne S employs a 440 horsepower 2.9-liter twin-turbo V6, as you move the hot Cayenne Turbo carries a 550 horsepower 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8. The turbo's V8 has power reserves available that may worry some sports cars and has a very muscular noise. The performance is addictive, but naturally is definitely the least friendly in your wallet. Added for the range after that launch may be the Cayenne Hybrid, a plug-in hybrid model which utilizes the 3.0-liter V6 on the standard Cayenne, along with an electric motor. All Cayenne models are wonderful to drive, plus the car has one of the best cabins in the flooring Buisiness. All versions will tow 3.5 tons and work impressively well off-road, too. Interior design given to Panamera. Porsche's near buttonless interior from your Panamera also features in the Cayenne. That means a tremendous HD central screen dominates your attention, plus a raised center console that has a chunky gear selector as well as a clean, touch-sensitive pair of switchgear. The instrument cluster possesses an analog rev counter emerge the middle of two digital screens you can configure, showing up everything through the navigation, through what's playing on radio stations to performance statistics. The huge multimedia screen looks daunting initially to use but is quick to access grips with. The verdict. The first Cayenne was the auto that changed Porsche's fortunes, making up a massive level of sales and effectively rescuing it from the sad demise. This third-generation model is possibly more generic than in the past, but simultaneously will appeal to a lot more buyers, especially when the engine range is fleshed over to include some cheaper tow-run options. The previous car used to be among the class leaders, and also this Cayenne pushes the envelope further still. Watch on for your in-depth Porsche Cayenne SUV review. 3 petrol engines as well as a plug-in hybrid. Basic Cayenne has 3.0-liter V6. Mighty Turbo comes with a 4.0-liter V8. Currently, you can find 4 power options to the Cayenne, 3 petrols as well as a petrol plug-in hybrid. There's no diesel to date, but we'd be very surprised if an individual didn't join the lineup sometime. petrol engines. Your Cayenne engine option is small for the present time, and each from the 3 power plants effectively doubles to be a trim level. Porsche Cayenne. The standard Cayenne works on the 3.0-liter turbocharged V6, producing 340 horsepower and 450 Nm of torque. That's perfect for a 0-62 miles per hour period of 5.9 seconds and onto a premier speed of 152 miles per hour. If you're not following steering speed on the far more powerful turbo-badged Cayenne, that's where our money would go. It's perfectly capable for everyday driving, so much in fact that it has us questioning the relevance with the S model, too. Being super picky, it isn't as loud as being the other 2 engines, nevertheless its bewatched of performance is such which it will fulfill daily duties acquiring to break a sweat. You will simply notice the not enough performance when driving flat out, but realistically the number of Cayenne identify that sort of action? Porsche Cayenne S. This model sits inside the middle ground. The entry-level Cayenne, if any model inside range can actually be considered as such, as well as the ballistic turbo. It employs a rather smaller 2.9-liter V6, but features 2 turbochargers to further improve power. The S gains advantage from 440 horsepower and 550 Nm of torque, and accelerates to 62 miles per hour in 4.9 seconds and so on to 165 miles per hour. While a 100 horsepower increase looks lots on paper, the S doesn't feel demonstrably quicker versus the standard car until you're really pressing on. Its sound is slightly noisier, but it really's fashionable little odd. Porsche appears to have engineered in a few low-speed V8 type burble that doesn't sound real, yet towards the top end this motor sounds strained. It's trying too much. Previous Cayenne S models haven't suffered in quite exactly the same way. Porsche Cayenne Hybrid. Also part from the Cayenne lineup can be a plug-in hybrid. It uses the 0.0-liter V6 turbo in the standard Cayenne, while using addition of an electric-powered motor for any combined system power creation of 462 horsepower and 700 Nm of torque. This particular Cayenne can do surging from 0.62 miles per hour in 5.0 seconds and onto a highly regarded speed of 157 miles per hour, which makes it the second fastest from the lineup as soon as the turbo. Not bad for your eco-friendly version. It's properly satisfying to implement too, and quite good fun. Being capable of waft out and about in silence for as much as 27 miles can be quite refined and civilized. However, the punchy petrol engine quickly wakes up when asked thanks on the slick drivetrain that flicks between drive modes, e-Power, Hybrid Auto, Sport and Sport Plus, seamlessly. Most with the time you'll spend driving it in Hybrid Auto where the auto decides and that is best with the situation. It prioritizes driving on electrical power alone, while using engine kicking in when you are getting a somewhat more enthusiastic while using accelerator pedal. Sport and Sport Plus should be left whenever you're thinking of having a little more fun and don't have passengers to throw around. In these modes, the Cayenne is actually unnecessarily fast for the Eco version, with strong performance indeed thanks towards the huge torque figure, responsive gearbox and powerful, eager engine. No matter the mode, though, the performance on the hybrid is impressive, with almost instant torque available thanks for the electric motor, which makes it feel considerably more eager and responsive than you'd expect a considerable SUV to get. Porsche Cayenne Turbo. Meatiest will be the turbo, although 71 engines are turbocharged, providing the same 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 also seen inside Panamera, and develops 550 horsepower plus a considerable 770 Nm of torque. This will be the fastest accelerating Cayenne be able to currently buy, since it completes the 062 miles per hour in 3.9 seconds and also on its approach to reaching a highly regarded speed of 178 miles per hour. The muscular burble on the turbocharged V8 results in huge performance when out for just a spirited drive and feels very flexible. There's tons of power available here, making for incredibly simple overtaking maneuvers and plenty of capability for towing, too. Tiptronic S automatic gearbox. Each Cayenne gets an 8-speed automatic gearbox called Tiptronic S. This carries a shorter first gear for better acceleration and longer 8th ratio for lower RPM cruising capability, which ensures you keep fuel economy reasonable to get a car of the size and power. It changes cogs incredibly smoothly, substantially default normal setting, but since you dial the drive modes up through Sport to Sport Plus, the changes get far quicker and much more abrupt. You're competent to control the box utilizing the steering wheel mounted paddle shifters, and also this is possible with no frustrating absence of response various other cars exhibit. Porsche Cayenne SUV, simply how much can it tow? Every version in the Cayenne comes with an unbraked towing capacity of 750 kilograms, together with the facility to haul as much as 3.5 tons if your trailer possesses his own braking, such as a hybrid. Assured and capable handling. Some off-road capability. Active anti-roll and rear wheel steering. Porsche's Cayenne is actually difficult to beat if you're a keen driver. Even BMW's X5 pales in comparison using the Porsche. It runs on the lot on the same oily bits since the Audi Q7 and Bentley Bentayga, but Porsche says so. It has specifically redeveloped a number of them for its own requirement to make sure so it drives differently to its Volkswagen Group stablemate. The steering is fantastically weighted and is also precise, while irrespective of whether you choose the normal springs or optional air suspension, it stays planted and flat even though you're negotiating corners at broadband. Everything feels tight and assured, and when you push the Cayenne hard, there's enough information coming with the steering wheel to offer confidence and also a feeling of proper stability. It seems like something this big shouldn't handle as well since it does, but Porsche's expertise is apparent to see. Several drive modes. Along with having 4 different on-road drive modes, you will discover 3 off-road settings whenever the going gets rough, gravel, mud and rock, with all the suspension, stability control, throttle response and gearbox all adjusting according on the conditions. We've only experienced a chance to sample gravel to date on a dry off-road trail, but we're sure Porsche's 911 can have traversed the identical route without much hassle. All it confirmed was the tall driving position affords excellent visibility as well as the Cayenne had enough grip and traction to obtain the job done. We're convinced the 4-wheel drive and suite of related systems to be had would fare well on far trickier terrain. Sport and Sport Plus increasingly make gear changes more ferocious, harden suspension and slacken off the traction control. With the turbo specifically, switching between those 2 modes activates the adaptive rear wing, which acts for an air brake in difficult braking maneuvers. On cars equipped with all the Sport Chrono Pack you're capable of switch between normal, Sport and Sport Plus having a neat rotary control on the controls. The hybrid comes together with the Sport Chrono Pack as standard, with a power and hybrid auto modes to flick between, in addition to Sport and Sport Plus. Porsche Cayenne, how good will be the brakes? It doesn't matter which brakes you end up picking, the Cayenne stops well with all of available braking systems. You've got either standard, carbon ceramic or perhaps some tungsten carbide-coated discs that are included with their own special pads. Each version features its own character, however, you won't be disappointed with any of them. We found the carbon ceramics could tend towards feeling just a little sharp at low speeds once in a while, but it really's nothing too serious. Whether you may need that form of braking performance for public road driving is the one other question entirely, though. Optional rear wheel steering and active anti-roll. The Cayenne is obtainable with what Porsche calls rear axle steering, that allows the back wheels to run slightly. This has two effects. At speeds below 50 miles per hour it will make the Cayenne more agile, competent to turn in an inferior area for the reason that rear wheels turn the other way on the fronts. At speeds above 50 miles per hour both groups of wheels steer from the same direction, which increases high-speed stability when cornering. When coupled together with the incredibly powerful and as well optional active anti-roll system, which prevents your vehicle leaning an excessive amount in corners, we found the resulting drive slightly odd, especially once we'd driven a Cayenne without them. The car's body motion feels unnatural and counterintuitive, so even though the driver could get used for the sensation over a protracted period of time, passengers will probably have a less enjoyable experience. It certainly disconcerted us once we weren't in the driver's seat. In reality, all you need is often a Cayenne, preferably on air suspension without any from the other cleverness. Sure, it leans somewhat, this is often a large, to-done car, however in doing so what's more, it telegraphs considerably more about what's happening underneath you, which is more confidence-inspiring. Great driving position. Quality materials used throughout. Massive screen dominates dashboard. Get behind the wheel from the Porsche Cayenne and also you'll experience an inside very just like that from the Panamera, albeit far further in the road. There's a substantial wheel that's available elsewhere from the Porsche range plus a center console that seems without physical buttons for most in the controls. Instead, you press down for the surface, which responds, which has a satisfying click to choose a function. It uses a while to find out where all of it is. You will find many virtual buttons, but once mastered it's a slick and attractive setup. The chunky gear selector feels great within your hand, and is often a great spot to rest your wrist when utilizing the frankly enormous touchscreen. The 12.3-inch display is standard on all Cayenne versions and features super crisp graphics, having a highly responsive screen. Pinch and swipe capability, just like tablets, is accustomed to control the navigation mapping featuring real-time traffic information, while a suite of apps and processes are there to increase its functionality. If you download the Porsche Connect app you're capable of sensing of routes direct on your car. See the amount fuel you've got left and preheat the Cayenne for cold morning starts. It'll also connect instantly to devices, for example Nest, so you'll be able to control your home's heating or stream data from cameras or security alarms. Voice control is accessible too, and has now been improved just for this generation of Cayenne. Firm ride. Supportive seats. Loud tire roar at motorway speeds. You need to remember that this Porsche Cayenne is designed to get a performance machine. That's to the point when you're not driving it at higher speeds, because ride can certainly still feel firm even from the Cayenne's mildest mode. Thankfully the seats are beautifully made and wonderfully cost-setting. The electric settings assist you to find a decent driving position within a few moments, and you don't need to spend an age looking to adjust the tire either. If you go for your optional dynamic chassis control, you'll be able to choose from normal, sport or sport plus, which adapts the firmness in the suspension. Air suspension for the Porsche Cayenne. We'd strongly suggest you tick this area for air suspension around the Cayenne. It's a forward-thinking new system that utilizes 3 chambers to save its air, that permits it a larger gulf between comfort and sport settings. It's still quite firm in comfort, indicating it's a sportier proposition, in spite of this system fitted. That's what we've arrived at. Expect from Porsche. Porsche Cayenne Turbo Comfort. The Turbo particularly, which consists of large alloy wheels, is afflicted with significant tire roar when at motorway speeds. That's mainly thanks on the low-profile tires, which enable it to become irritating on long stints, since you should elevate your voice to talk for your fellow passengers or almost deafen yourself by cranking the music. Thankfully, with all the turbo, that's your sole source of noise. Wind noise from air passing in the door mirrors is minimal, plus the burbling V8 settles into a near-silent hum at motorway speeds. Cayenne hybrid refinement. A not enough engine noise when cruising around on electric batteries alone means the hybrid is well one from the most refined models from the Cayenne range. There's still a little bit of road noise to deal with, as this big Porsche sold with giant wheels along the range, but any wind or road noise making its way into the cabin isn't enough to ruin the event. Far from it. Around town, it's a very pleasant and relaxing car to push. Lots of height kit available about the Cayenne. A large amount of it comes as standard, but more is available through the options list. You can currently select from 4 different versions of Porsche's big SUV, Cayenne, Cayenne S, Cayenne Turbo and Cayenne Hybrid. Each trim level is bound to one engine choice, plus the standard equipment list naturally grows the bigger up the pecking order you are going. Bear in mind, though, which the standard equipment list increases according to performance parts for the vehicle, as opposed to additional luxuries. Standard Porsche Cayenne SUV equipment. Standard Cayenne and a hybrid models include Porsche Connect Plus, which incorporates a 12.3-inch infotainment screen with navigation and Bluetooth telephone connectivity and cruise control. Apple CarPlay screen mirroring is roofed, too, but weirdly Android Auto isn't. Each car has 19-inch wheels, LED headlights, automatic lights and wipers, keyless entry, front and back parking sensors and 8-way electrically operated front seats. You may also expect leather upholstery, 40/20/20 split rear seats, a powered tailgate and automatic climate control. Moving up to your Cayenne S nets you different 19-inch alloys, adaptive suspension called PASM, larger brakes, as well as the more powerful 2.9-liter twin-turbo engine. The Cayenne Turbo turns into a Bose hi-fi system together with air suspension, tungsten carbide-coated brakes, also bigger compared to S's, 21-inch alloys, a more substantial 90-liter fuel tank, a livelier roof spoiler, sports seats, leather upholstery, as well as an Alcantara roof lining. Optional Porsche Cayenne SUV extras. Depending on your Cayenne of preference, there are a tremendous number of potential mechanical bits, interior luxuries or trimmings to add on your Porsche SUV. Performance upgrades stem from everything including higher performance Porsche surface-coated brakes PSCD, or perhaps a even carbon ceramic alternative, Porsche's active stability management and dynamic chassis control, plus rear axle steering, a first for your Cayenne, the quintessential sport chrono pack, and air suspension upgrades for non-turbo cars. There's also a tremendous amount of interior trim tweaks, from wood and aluminium appliques to Alcantara, and also both Bose and Burmester stereo upgrades. Lots of ordinary safety equipment included. Various items of driver assistance kit sold. Cayenne is really a safe and solid family car. No surprise anytime the safety kit in Cayenne was crashed with the experts at Euro NCAP following 2017. It have a full 5-star rating. Key safety items on all Porsche Cayenne includes driver, passenger, driver's knee, all-round curtain and side airbags. Active bonnet happens in event of any crash. Automatic emergency braking EB. Alarm. Immobilizer. traction and stability control, cruise control, electric parking brake, hill hold function, front and rear parking sensors, tire pressure monitor, Porsche Cayenne, optional safety kit. On top of the above features, there's a fantastic SP watch of optional extras around to bolster the Cayenne's safety and driver assistance credentials. You can order adaptive cruise control, traffic sign recognition, a reversing camera, a 360-degree parking camera, a hearth extinguisher, night vision display, lane change monitor, side airbags from the rear and electric roll-up sun blinds for your back windows. Watch Porsche Cayenne SUV Euro NCAP crash test video. Spacious cabin. Plenty of rear space. Plenty of storage too. The Cayenne is often a big car. In truth it's larger inside as opposed to previous generation, so you'll seat 4 adults perfectly well. A fifth is quite possible, though legroom is fixed compared while using outer seats due to a wide transmission tunnel and center console. There won't be any complaints from those inside the front, with a large amount of adjustment within the seats, plus the cocooning feel thanks towards the high central tunnel doesn't mean it feels cramped. With dimensions for example these, it's a fantastic job the Cayenne has rear parking sensors as standard. It'll become a challenge to park in the average-sized UK space between 2 other cars otherwise. However, its elevated driving position means you've got excellent visibility, but we'd still consider specifying a model with cameras to support maneuvers. An automatic parking technique is available for an optional extra, while something to park automatically via your phone opens up later in 2018. The Cayenne's boot is continuing to grow by 100 liters to 770 while using rear seats up, so it's a winner inside practicality race against its predecessor. For comparison, a Range Rover Sport bests it barely at 784 liters, however it completely trounces a BMW X5. It's worth noting that, if you opt for a Cayenne hybrid, boot space decreases by about 100 liters since the battery pack is found beneath the boot floor.